Good day. It's June 29th, 2026. Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, his former personal criminal defense attorney, but now a nominee to be U.S. Attorney General, is now facing his biggest and most serious challenge yet, ahead of his confirmation in the Senate. I'm Jessica Rolla. Welcome to The Pulse. Here's a story that is not yet being reported by the big legacy or mainstream media, but we picked it up from the podcast Legal AF, hosted by high-profile lawyer Michael Popok. Todd Blanche, the acting U.S. Attorney General, is facing a disbarment complaint by 101 judges ahead of his July 15 confirmation hearing. The 101 federal and state court judges has filed a complaint with the First Appellate Division in New York, based in Manhattan, that regulates lawyers' bar license where Todd Blanche has a law license. This is another group of lawyers distinct from the 35 retired judges who asked a Florida federal judge to reopen the case of Trump versus the IRS, saying a probable fraud may have been committed in court. Those 35 former judges include Judge J. Michael Luttig, who advised former Vice President Mike Pence about the illegality of the plan to deny Joe Biden election from being certified in the Senate. In the 64 bar complaint filed by the 101 judges last week in Manhattan, the judges grouped the alleged violations into major areas like violations of the New York rules of professional responsibility in creating the Anti-Weaponization Fund, conflict of interest, dishonest and deceitful comments, abuse by the Department of Justice to target personal and political opponents of the president, like former FBI Director James Comey, New York Attorney General Letitia James, and Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The Epstein Files Transparency Act violations, and things that adversely reflect on his fitness as a lawyer, referring to Code of Conducts and Code of Ethics violations as a lawyer. Also, earlier last week, Legal AF and MSN Now Network reported a lawsuit against Todd Blanche by journalist Katie Fong, who alleges that Blanche and the DOJ withheld records that was required to be released under Epstein Transparency Act. A much bigger trouble for Todd Blanche came on Wednesday last week when a nonprofit organization called Public Integrity Project, who does oversight on government activities, was reported by Michael Popok of Legal AF as having filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit demanding all records that exist relating to the Epstein investigations and conduct of Todd Blanche, including all communications, memos, notes, phone messages, emails between the DOJ and other parties. Individuals including Florida federal judge Eileen Cannon, who sealed the files from the special counsel Jack Smith's report on the Trump investigations, when Todd Blanche was already acting U.S. Attorney General. The court filing asked that those files, that's big volume of files, be provided to the plaintiff by July 15th, which is also the start of the confirmation hearings. Many legal observers and commentators see these things as just getting worse for Todd Blanche and could derail his Senate confirmation. Several states did their primary election last week, and there are winners and losers to indicate where the country's sentiment is right now, leading to the November midterm election. One of them was Navy Admiral Nancy LaCour, who had 30 years of service in the Navy, but was fired by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in his effort to reorganize the Defense Department, and has won in the Democratic primary for South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. This district is on the Democrats' target list to flip in the midterm election. In New York, a Mayor Mamdani-endorsed candidate Avila Chevalier defeated Congressman Adriano Espelette. New York City Comptroller and former mayoral candidate Brad Lander defeated Congressman Dan Goldman, and Claire Valdez won on an open seat currently being held by Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, who is leaving Congress. Please stay with us for the interview with Tofu Alafipo, who ran for the judge in the June 9th Nevada primary, when we come back. Welcome back to The Pulse. Joining us now is Tofu, as her friends call her. She was a candidate for Nevada Assembly District 41 in the Republican primary. Tofu, thank you for joining here
Thank
at the Pulse. Welcome.
thank you for having me.
And first, just tell us a little bit about your personal and or professional background.
Well, first of all, kamusta ka? I'm proud to say that I come a background of mixed race
Yes.
and multicultural heritage. And I believe that diversity is shaped who I am now and the way I think and the way how I serve others. I'm a small business owner, a real
Mhm.
estate professional, and a mother of six.
Wow.
All my kids graduated from Liberty High School, which is why the district that I ran in offices is very, I have a place in my heart for that because we invested so many of our time there. But I'm also a founder of a couple of the nonprofit organization and
Mhm.
built a lot of productions. Through the years. And so, yeah, that's pretty much about me. I'm, um, of course, heavily involved, still involved in the real estate industry. So
Yeah.
I'm a realtor. Yeah.
I remember when we met at Bottega Exchange during your campaign, and you had mentioned that. And yeah, are you giving yourself time for the real estate again, or
Yes,
yeah?
actually, I have a listing right now, so the show still must continue. I've got a listing, and I'm working on a few, and that's one thing I learned about, door knocking, like true grassroots door knocking. You end up
Yes.
making relationships, and you end up finding that some of the constituents are planning to leave or sell their property, and so some of my listings are coming from them.
So, and where is a District 41 located?
So
Street.
it is located, do you know, southeast of Las Vegas
Yes.
and portion of Henderson. So Silverwater Ranch, you
Yes. Familiar.
also get Seven Hills as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a pretty big, it's one of the diverse district, by the way. So I'm very passionate about this. So if I go like too excited, just kind of tell me calm
No,
down.
no,
But
no, just be you.
yeah, so you know where Las Vegas Boulevard is, and you
Correct.
go all the way to Eastern,
Hmm.
and then from Windmill all the way to Seven Hills.
Okay.
And so that is my district, and it's again, it's one of the most diverse district. It's like 64% of minorities,
Hmm.
and it's a mix.
Yeah.
You also get commercials as well. So I have the other portion of the commercial industry, like the Raiders Highway, and
High profile.
yes, and their facility is in my district. So it
Mhm.
kind of gives you a little bit perspective on both demographic side and also the industry, real estate and commercial industry. So
Okay, and so with the primary election being over, I mean, from after June 9th, you couldn't advance to the November 3rd. However, that is a general election, but as we wish. But let's talk
yes,
about your campaign experience. I definitely
yes.
wanted to learn because I met you and then I lost track a little bit. And then I'm so glad you came to us still, no matter what. Was this your first time running for an elected office?
You know what? It is
Okay,
actually. So,
I can tell.
it was actually my first. How it came about is that the people in my community, my husband and I are heavily involved in our
Yeah.
schools, our districts,
Mhm.
and my husband is a volunteered sportsman's announcement for all the football team
Oh,
and
wow.
football games and flag football, and I'm a team mom for several sports because my kids played volleyball.
All six.
Yes, yeah. Well, four out of the six graduated from Liberty High School, and so I was a team mom for volleyball, also for football and wrestling, and so it just happens organically. I think it's a fortuitously that this opportunity came, and
Yeah.
I was always involved. Like we want to make sure that the kids that didn't have a place to go, that they were fed after school because
You're
when you're
at
at the
one of those
school,
house.
yes,
Yes,
when you're
that's
at the
good.
school, like you start seeing these kids just lingering around as like, "Hey,
Mhm.
do you have a home? Do you have a place to go?" They're like, "Yeah, but there's nobody home." Or that 2-hour gap that the parents are at work.
Latchkey.
Well, that's sometimes, some of the team moms, our team moms gather, we
Yeah.
get together and we're like, "Hey, listen, let's just bring some food." And we used to make, spam musubi, the spam
Oh, I
musubi.
know, I
We made
remember
a
those
lot of
days.
those,
Those
and
spam.
our team moms, and they all come together because we love the kids. We
Yeah.
see those kids as our kids as well. So we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we take care of them. But that's the whole reason. Again, although it's my first as elected office, my community and the people in my team encouraged, like, hey, listen, why don't you run? Why don't you see what you can do in a bigger scale? And I thought about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I've never thought in a million years that I would, run. But now grateful because, you know, I'm not new at managing and running a business.
Right.
You know, responsibility and accountability. I've run productions, and
Mhm.
so just the strategy and the acquisition, it's nothing new. I just implemented that into this new industry or this new realm, you know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Let's just get into it. The hard parts, the fun parts, the human. I've never really asked this type of question to someone like you, but anything that you could recall of this experience worth sharing, and feel free to get real because yeah, you and I had met in the beginning, and then
Yeah.
I just want to know what happened after
Yeah.
before June 9th.
Yeah, well, actually, you know, we got into this race just 2 months,
Yeah.
2 months into this race, and we truly did true grassroots, which means
Mm.
we knocked on every door in that district, and that's why I got so busy.
You did.
Knocked every door, and one thing I can take out of that is that I'm so grateful for the experience that I've gained because you know you can never stop learning, right? But I learn a different skill now. You know, I thought that I've been helping so many people. I mean, as a homeowner, as a realtor, I've helped many people get into their homes and prepare them to become homeowners.
Mhm.
But this is a different perspective. Like I was able to actually sit on kitchen tables with the constituents and
Right.
hear their concerns and their issues and building that relationship. And I think, you know, with that 2 months that I did, you know, coming close, I mean, our race was one of the most competitive
It
race.
was. I saw
And,
that, how
you know,
close it was.
nearly
Yeah.
1,300, you know, voters,
Mhm.
as you can see, and in about 1,400 on my opponent. But, you know, just off of that, now, can you imagine, you know,
Mhm.
the 2 years in when we prepare for that?
Exactly.
It would be phenomenal. And fell in love with the people, the neighbors. I think
Mhm.
that's the most important thing is to be a good listener.
Right.
Leadership comes from listening first before you even go out and lead because you have to understand, you have to find the solution, you know, on how we can resolve these issues and concerns. And one thing I also learned too, Jessica, is that what I've learned is that a lot of the people in our industry or in their community in our neighborhood,
Mhm.
they didn't like career, you know, everyday career politician. They just got tired of all the promises that they've been saying that they're going to do, but ended up not following through. And so they wanted
Right.
someone different. They wanted someone that struggle alongside the people. And I was real
Right.
with them. I said, you know what?
Very real.
Yes, and I'm going to be candid with you. I
Mhm.
struggle along the people I represent. You know, I may not have it all together, but together we have it all. And
Mhm.
I think that resonated with a lot of people. A lot of them were like, we need someone that understands our struggles, our concerns.
Mhm.
And I think that's what I brought to the table was lived experience. And, you know, for that short period of time and getting, you know, nearly 1,300 voters, I think we did an amazing job. And I would not, I will never take that for granted. And we'll continue to build that. So,
Yeah, you brought up a good point about really listening. And I
yes.
think a lot of, like you said, career politicians, I'm not, opposed to anyone that comes to the Pulse, but you can kind of tell who's out there, who's really listening to people. And if
Yes.
you have never struggled and come
Yep.
through it to the other side,
Yep.
how is someone going to be, you're relatable, right?
Yeah.
And you're a mom. And
Yep.
again in real estate, so you're already used to wanting to learn what are the issues with say housing or
Yes. Yeah.
affordability. And then the primary on the Republican side was between you and Kelly Chapman, who did win, but it wasn't her first time running. And you brought up a good point about how you just went in there in this race in the assembly.
Mhm.
The margin was about 8% of the Republicans votes cast. And how did
Right.
you do it? Yeah, I know you came close and you just recited the numbers of the votes. How did you think that made the contest competitive?
Definitely for me, it was the door knocking,
Yeah, I think so.
grassroots
Right.
door
And
knocking. I
you
mean,
were in
for that
different
2 months,
areas from
yeah,
her,
different,
how
yes.
different it was.
And then she
And your
probably had a
social
different
media is
strategy.
different too.
Yeah. She probably had a different strategy, which is great. And I think
Right.
it worked
Mhm.
both because it was very competitive. I
Yeah.
mean, some of the things that she shared with me that I didn't, you know, really and hone on top, like the mailers. You know, she mentioned that there was a lot of mailers that was going out. Now, for me, it was the other way
The
around.
mail-in ballots?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, our mailers.
Your mailers.
Yeah, like the
They're
ads, the marketing ads,
Yeah, they're
mailers.
different.
Yeah. And so, and for me, to me, what's most important is building that relationship with the constituents. And I
Correct.
needed that. I needed that because I needed to gain that experience and I needed to really understand what their struggles within my community. And within my community, that's what I learned. I learned that high cost of living was a
Mhm.
concern. Housing affordability was another concern.
Mhm.
Public safety was another concern. And it was through these conversations that I had on kitchen tables and where they were at the door,
Right.
you know, saying, "How are you going to do this? You're just one person."
They're actually asking you how.
Yes,
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing. Are
"Tofu,
you ready to answer?
yes,
Yeah.
tofu, how are you going to do this?" I go, "Well, that's a great question, you know." And I didn't hide anything from them. I
Right.
told them that I was a new candidate and I noticed that, you know, there's a need. And
Right.
I feel like we also, as constituents, the normal, you know, neighbor has a seat at the table on the legislative table. And what I've learned is that it is important. It is important for us to understand the policies. I know it's like taboo, right? With politics, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to hear about that." But
Mm,
when it trickles down, policy does goes side by side with your lifestyle,
yeah.
the struggles that you're going through, you know, the high cost of living, the
Mhm.
inflations,
Yeah.
and housing affordability and whatnot.
So you're thinking now the another run, maybe 2 years from now?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
It's an
but
absolute yes.
yes, yes. But most importantly, you know, the people come first. You
You're
know,
right.
you learn so much from them, and they learn from you too.
Oh,
But
yes.
in the beginning, the first thing is converse with them, have
Right.
a relationship with them. You
Mhm.
know, continue to be in front of things, and make sure that you find bills and you know, solution
I agree.
to their concerns.
So win or loss, you promised to appear on the program, in which we really appreciate. Our executive producer mentioned that to me to tell you that you still wanted to come, and you're actually the third of a couple of non-winners, and you know I don't really judge by
Yeah.
that, but that still wanted to come to Pulse. And last words, right to the camera. Words that for those who want to support you or maybe just get to know you first.
First, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you to every volunteer, every donor, every voter, every friend, and every neighbor. Of course, absolutely every family member who believed in me. Nearly 1,300 people placed their trust in a first time candidate who entered the race just 2 months ago against an established and experienced opponent that had about 1,400 votes cast, making it one of the closest and most competitive race on the ballot, and I will never take that for granted. This campaign may be over, but our journey is just beginning. I like to leave you with a final thought. Imagine a farmer planting a seed. The day he plants it, he doesn't expect to harvest. He waters it, protects it, and patiently cares for it because he believes that one day it will bear fruit. And I believe this campaign was like planting a seed. We planted seeds of service, friendship, hope, and community. While we may not see the harvest this election, I believe those seeds will continue to grow. And to our Asian American Pacific Islander and minority communities, and to every family who came to America seeking a better future, if you're eligible, I encourage you to become a US citizen. Get involved, vote, volunteer, serve your community, because we stand on faith, family, freedom, and the American dream. You don't need a title to make a difference. You simply need a willing heart. I've come to believe something that I hope will always guide my life. A life well lived is not measured by the fruit we enjoy, but by the seeds we leave behind. May we all leave our families, our communities, and our nation better than we found them. Thank you.
Wow, inspirational. Tofu, thank you for talking to us today, and good luck on your next plans. And hopefully, we'll see you next election. And we
Thank
hope
you.
to have you here again at the Pulse. And please stay tuned for more news after this. In our world news, in the Philippines, the pre-trial period in the Senate impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte continued. In the U.S., lawyers commonly refer this as a discovery period, where the plaintiff and the defense reveals to each other what evidence that they have and the list of witnesses they want to present. So it is also during this process that length of the trial and time schedules are agreed upon by both sides. There is a nagging question of what number, how many votes are needed to convict the vice president on each article of impeachment, now that there functionally are only 22 senators. Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa is a fugitive from the law, and Senator Jinggoy Estrada is in jail. According to several law professors in the Philippines, the Constitution provides for 2/3 of all senators, which means 16 of the 24 senators, but does not provide qualifiers or special circumstances. A matter that likely before the vote after the trial will require the Supreme Court to render an opinion or interpretation of what the basis will be to convict the vice president. Will it be 24 senators or will it be 22? That is the question. Presidential elections this year has seen a series of far-right candidates elected to the presidency throughout Latin America. In Costa Rica, anti-LGBTQ and anti-indigenous rights advocate Laura Fernandez Delgado defeated left-leaning candidate Alvaro Ramos Chavez by a margin of almost 50%. Delgado also advocates of stripping married women of their rights to keep their maiden name. In Peru last week, Keiko Fujimori defeated a liberal-leaning Roberto Sanchez by more than 50%. Keiko is the daughter of the notorious dictator Alberto Fujimori, whom has committed vicious human rights violations at the time of his 10 years as Peru's president. Far-right lawyer Abelardo Esprella defeated left-leaning candidate Ivan Cepeda in Colombia, which was due to the fact that President Gustavo Petro cannot run for a second term constitutionally. In Brazil, left-wing President Lula da Silva is in a wide lead against far-right candidate Flavio Bolsonaro, a senator based in Rio de Janeiro, and son of former President Jair Bolsonaro, who currently is in prison for inciting a January 6th-style insurrection after he lost the election in 2022. These right-wing candidates have gotten the endorsement of President Donald Trump, and other news sources say that Trump's cut funding towards left-leaning governments through USAID or the United States Agency or International Development and has played a big role in the massive shift of right-wing president-elects on leftist countries. So we will take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the interview with Austin Beaumont, candidate for judge in the November 3rd election. Joining us now here at our Phil-Am TV studios is Austin Beaumont, candidate for District Court Judge Department 8. Austin, thank you for coming to talk to us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
Let's start by telling our audience a little bit about your personal and or professional background.
Sure. So, well, prior to even becoming an attorney, I worked for over a decade as a culinary worker. And while I was doing that, I was getting my business degrees. And then my goal was to run hotels for myself. I did that for a couple years. And I felt kind of called to serve in a different capacity. So then I went back to law school. I became a prosecutor, and now I'm here at the Clark County District Attorney's Office. I work in fraud and elder abuse and all sorts of other public corruption types of white-collar crimes.
Right. And so now that you actually answered my question, saying what kind of cases that with Clark County District Court Department 8, or were you referring to your past? You were from Idaho, I think you mentioned in passing before. So this is for Clark County.
Yes, so this is for Clark County. I moved from Idaho after I graduated law school.
Got it.
And then I started with the district court actually as a law clerk. I was a law
Gotcha.
clerk for 4 years under 2 different judges.
Mhm.
So I learned all about how district court, which is the position that I'm running for, works. How all the different judges think, how they go through the cases, what kind of cases come through these departments. And my goal was to ultimately become a litigator, because if you're going to be a trial court judge, you
Right.
should have a little bit of trial experience.
Mhm.
So I did that by going to the prosecutor's office where I am now. Most of my cases involve a great deal of money or elderly victims, vulnerable victims, or powerful victims. And
Mm.
powerful victims can be people like government employees or law enforcement officers,
Mm.
the casinos,
Right.
big, celebrity name type of cases.
Yep. And you feel like they get taken advantage quite a bit, that they
Yeah.
need representation.
They do. The bigger companies get scammed more often than you'd think.
Yeah.
But my real my heart issue is the elderly and the vulnerable, and
Yeah, for sure.
because usually it involves money and some sort of scam or
Mm.
some sort of fraud. As we get older, we become less able to discern when we're being lied to.
Mm.
And that's why so many elderly citizens are scammed out of their retirement savings. There are worldwide networks devoted to running these long-running scams, care workers that take advantage of the people that they're assigned to protect. And for me, that's very important.
Yeah.
My grandparents helped raise me, and I think we have a duty to take care of our elders.
Very
So
good.
that's where I get to put, my time back into helping those people that helped me.
Oh, they must be very proud of you, or no. And the primary for a district court department eight, well, I was told it was canceled, so we could, correct me if I'm wrong there. But you and Jessica Peterson are on the ballot for November 3rd. I'm excited for you both, and that's for the general election. So, what unusual thing happened, or did I misunderstand about the
So
cancel?
not so
It
much
wasn't canceled.
unusual.
Yeah.
The primaries are an assumed part of the
Right.
process. We assume that there's going to be enough people putting in for a position that we would have a primary.
Mhm.
That happened with Adam Gans's race. That happened with Jessica Goody's race and
Yeah.
Pete Thinnell's race. So those judges had a primary. I just happened not to. So it's just me and Judge Peterson on the ballot for November.
Okay, great. And then, if elected for a judge for Department 8, what kind of changes or improvements would you want to implement or advocate, Austin?
So overall, I'm looking to follow the law, not politics,
Right.
not personal preference, not judicial activism.
Mhm.
It takes a lot to be able to take your personal feelings about some issues and put them aside
Yep.
and focus on what the law is and apply it as it's written.
Mhm.
And I think we can all agree that there are some laws that we don't necessarily agree with,
All right.
but it takes that professionalism, it takes that dedication to doing right by the law to put all of that aside, do it correctly. Don't put your own spin on things. You're not elected to have a fiefdom of law where you just kind of apply things as you personally see fit or applying the laws that you think should be applied and not others. I'm also looking to make sure that the public safety is taken care of. Like I said, I work with disadvantaged, elderly,
For sure.
very vulnerable people. And that's a big thing to me, to make sure that the public is taken care of and safe
Mhm.
while making sure that we have access to justice.
Right.
It's striking that balancing act and looking at everything all at once, taking it all in, and trying to do the best thing possible for everyone.
I agree. And I feel like with your endorsements too, you have quite a bit. And, what judging from that, I mean, they say law enforcement is a key, right?
Yes.
Because you mentioned public safety and just the people like that to really trust in you for this election. And so we're almost out of time, unfortunately. And so why don't this is your chance now, Austin, to pitch directly to the camera, to your voters and, speak to them.
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, I'm here for you. I've been in a service position my entire life. I've been called to serve, whether it's literally serving plates at tables or running hotels, helping people get from point A to point B in their careers in the industry. I'm here as a chief deputy district attorney because I'm taking care of people in the community who've been victimized. And I've wanted to do more and more and more throughout my career to really help people. And as a judge, I can help people better than I can in my current position. So I'm here for you and I'm here to help.
Austin Beaumont, candidate for District Court Judge, Department 8. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
And good luck on your race. And to our viewers, please join us again next week for another edition of The Pulse. I'm Jessica Rolla. Thank you for watching, and God bless your week.